Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos.
The main character, after dying in his previous life, he wakes up inside Naruto and he is reborn as an Uchiha before the massacre. He has a gacha system. What is he gonna do inside of Naruto?
Until you can dispel genjutsu on your own within 1 second, and can stably cast ninjutsu even when Rin interferes with your chakra. Understood. The teaching schedule has been updated. New courses have started. By the way, which book on medical ninjutsu are you on? I just finished reading them yesterday. I originally planned to review and solidify them for a while before telling you about them, and also to copy down those rare books. The medical ninjutsu books that Tsunade gave out, apart from a few rare books from the Senju clan, were all in triplicate, with 1 copy for each member of the team. Because Uchiha was the fastest at reading books, those few rare books are now with him. I've asked Jiraiya to take charge of the training for the next 3 days. Now that you've finished reading those books on medical ninjutsu, go find Tsunade to learn about live medical experiments after you've completed Jiraiya's special training. A peace delegation from Kumagakure will be arriving tomorrow. The 3rd Hokage has assigned Elder Maitoman and me to receive them, so I won't have time to take you with me for the time being. The peace delegation from Kumagakure. Uchiha heart skipped a beat. In the original timeline, were peace talks between Konoha and Kumagakure ever successful? It seems like there really isn't one, right? The first peace talks with Kumagakure were met with internal strife, which led to the death of the 2nd Hokage. As a result, the Hokage position had to be passed on to Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was the best of the worst. The subsequent negotiations. It seems like the other side wasn't really there for negotiations, but just using this opportunity to poach people. At this point in time, Uchiha recalled the infamous blood red hot chili pepper from the Ninja Academy, who was a year younger than him and had crushed most of the boys in his grade, as well as the blonde-haired 5th grade champion. The timing seems to match up perfectly. Could this be the one? I understand, Orochimaru-sensei. But do you really think Kumagakure will negotiate with us at this time? Uchiha looked into Orochimaru's eyes and feigned curiosity. I'm not sure either. They're fighting against Iwagakure while they're fighting us, so they're under a lot of pressure. Even if the peace talks don't go through, they'll definitely hope that the intensity of the fighting can be temporarily reduced because of the peace talks. However, the greatest pressure is on us. Hands of the Land of Rain has declared war on multiple major powers at the same time, muddying the waters. In addition, we have to fight against the main forces of the wind and lightning powers from 2 directions at the same time. Given the 3rd Hokage personality, he will definitely do his best to promote the success of peace talks between the 2 countries. Even if peace talks fail, Sarutobi-sensei wouldn't mind temporarily reducing the intensity of the conflict on the front lines. Otherwise, if the war continues like this, Konoha will inevitably run out of manpower. Not only will your graduating class of ninjas be sent to the battlefield, but even the senior Ninja Academy students have been told by elders that they could graduate early to replenish the ranks. Orochimaru's meaning is very clear. Given the current situation in Konoha and the 3rd Hokage personality, Konoha will take the Kumagakure's peace talks seriously, regardless of their sincerity, and will do its utmost to promote peace between the 2 countries. This is not something that Orochimaru, a Konoha Jonin in charge of receiving guests, can decide. Even though he can now be considered the face of Konoha's younger generation of ninjas, the power in the village lies with a few Konoha high-ranking officials who are in their prime. I see. But perhaps because the village suffered too many losses during the negotiations with Kumagakure during the First Shinobi World War, I still have a bad feeling. All right, What's there to worry about? This is a negotiation in our village. What trouble can those barbarians from Kumagakure cause? My old man may be incompetent, but he's not useless either. Let's go. Since Orochimaru-sensei is busy for the next few days, shouldn't we have a good get-together tonight? It's on me. It's a Kamichi clan's yakiniku Q. Order whatever you want tonight. Sarutobi and Jun reached out and put his arm around Uchiha Gen's neck, patting his chest with the other hand, and said with a heroic air, "Dude, what we're worried about is your dad, that good for nothing. Forget it, we'll see when the time comes. If we have the ability to intervene, we will. If we can't, that's something for the big shots to worry about." Uchiha Gen only hoped that the outcome of this matter wouldn't be altered by the butterfly effect caused by his time travel. Chapter 26 Character Card Uchiha Madara. After all, no matter what, this duo of scrambled eggs with tomatoes are the parents of the future savior. The fact that Konoha was able to successfully survive the Third Shinobi World War was also a result of Minato Namikaze's heroic efforts. Before Naruto was born, Minato Namikaze was the one destined to be the protagonist. Even Jiraiya believed he was the prophesied child who could save the world. At least Uchiha Gen didn't want the plot to go out of control due to the butterfly effect before he gained enough power and absolute self-defense capabilities. The group agreed to meet at a barbecue restaurant later that day, and then went their separate ways. Eager to draw a card, Uchiha Gen could no longer contain his anxiety and ran all the way to the Uchiha clan's territory to get home. After washing my face, brushing my teeth, taking a shower, and burning incense, I sat cross-legged on the bed. First, pay homage to the 3 Pure Ones and the 4 Emperors, then to Buddha and Guanyin, and finally to God and the 6 Paths Immortals. System, draw a card. System extraction in progress. The guaranteed minimum return mechanism has been triggered. Successfully recruited character card, Uchiha Madara, young, quality, green. Character card, green, description. Equipping this character card grants access to all of its abilities. Gen Uchiha opened his eyes, a hint of joy flashing in them. This card may not be the strongest among all the green quality cards, but it is one of the cards that Uchiha Gen is most familiar with, and he believes it is the most suitable for him. Because this character card was designed by him personally before he traveled through time. He knew everything about her, from her background to her abilities. Most importantly, the Madara depicted in this card is the young Uchiha Madara who has awakened the Sharingan. In the backpack's inventory, a card with green edges lay quietly. The image on the card shows a boy with spiky hair, dressed in black, standing on the mudflats by the river, holding a small pebble. The cutscene begins, and the pebble in the black-clad boy's hand is thrown, skipping across the river before finally falling into the water before reaching the other side, splashing water and creating ripples. I already told you, Hashirama. I'm very sensitive. If someone is behind me, I can't even pee, and I can't use my strength in my hands. The boy, Ban, turned around angrily and said to the mushroom-headed boy behind him who was grinning foolishly, "Hey, hey." The young Hashirama did not reply, but instead picked up a stone from the ground and threw it. Although his technique was not as refined as Ban's, he relied on his strength to send the stone skipping across the water to the other side. The two boys soon started arguing, and silhouettes flashed across the screen. From skipping stones to seeing who could pee the farthest, then sparring and testing their ninjutsu, they finally went together to the big tree where Konoha was originally located, sat on the cliff edge of the rock that would later become the Hokage Rock, poured out their hearts to each other, and talked about their ideals. In the background, the leaves turn from green to yellow, then are covered by winter snow, and finally turn green again after being cut open. This represents the passage of time. The scene shifts to a battlefield littered with the corpses of Senju and Uchiha. Inside a tent, Madara Uchiha, being questioned by his father, is filled with resentment. The scene returned to the small river, and this time, in addition to Madara and Hashirama, Uchiha Tajima, Uchiha Izuna, Senju Butsuma, and Senju Tobarama also appeared on the riverbank. The two boys were forced to face each other. Hashirama, those foolish futures we talked about may never come true. From today onward, when we meet on the battlefield, there will no longer be Madara and Hashirama, but Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. A crimson hue appeared in the eyes of young Madara. The animation ends here, which also means that Madara, the character card he represents, is in the final scene, just having awakened his Sharingan. Although Madara Uchiha at this time had only just awakened his single Tomo Sharingan, his strength had already become quite formidable after years of war, far surpassing that of ordinary genin. Uchiha Gen's gaze then shifted to the card slots. He currently only has one card slot. He will only be able to unlock a second card slot when the level 20 prize pool is updated and higher quality cards are available. In other words, he can only equip one of the two cards, Uchiha Madara, Young, and Haruno Sakura, Ninja Trainee. As for who to choose, is this still a choice? Sakura Haruno, a ninja trainee, has been removed from her training. Uchiha Madara, Young, is equipped. The moment he equipped the card, Uchiha Gen could clearly feel that his physical attributes and the quality and quantity of his chakra had both improved significantly. The Madara Uchiha card is slightly older than his current self. While his base stats are not yet comparable to those of the Senju or Uzumaki factions, they are still quite impressive. Most importantly, Gen Uchiha walked to the mirror and gathered his chakra in his eyes. As if by instinct, his eyes turned bloodshot in an instant, and a Magatama appeared next to his black pupils, spinning around. This feeling, Uchiha Gen felt as if his eyes had suddenly become clearer. The steam rising above the freshly boiled water and a crawling insect on the leaves of a large tree outside the window were all clearly visible. While the single Tomo Sharingan offers some slight advantages in copying ninjutsu, genjutsu, and hypnosis, the effect is not significant. The most prominent feature of the Sharingan at this stage is its ability to perceive. Within the field of vision, all movements and details can be clearly observed. And more importantly, Gen Uchiha lowered his head, looked at his hands, and channeled chakra into them. A red and a green color, representing the fire release and wind release chakra natures, appeared in the field of vision and traveled along the meridians in the hand. Fire and wind are the chakra attributes of Gen Uchiha himself. In retrospect, it seems that Madara Uchiha in his youth, before fusing with Hashirama's cells, primarily used wind release and fire release as his chakra nature. From now on, he can see chakra directly. While the single Tomo Sharingan's ability is not clear enough and is somewhat blurry, unlike the double Tomo Sharingan, which is detailed enough to copy ninjutsu, it can still be used to judge the enemy's condition based on the general flow of chakra within their body. Awakening the Sharingan means that the Uchiha clan is one step ahead of others when compared with ninjas of the same level. The most common tactics in the ninja world for dealing with Uchiha ninjas who have awakened the Sharingan are either to bully the weak or to gang up on them. In a group fight, there should be at least two people, one to draw attention and the other to hold the opponent back. As for bullying the weak, the Uchiha clan has always had the most Jonin-level ninjas in the ninja world, which is the foundation that makes them the recognized strongest clan. Chapter 27, Ninja Cat Clan. Right now, I possess the Sharingan thanks to Madara's character card, not because I awakened it myself. I just don't know if this process will accelerate my own awakening process, or even if the power of the two sharing can be combined. After thinking for a moment, Uchiha decided to stop dwelling on these distant matters and instead casually opened a large drawer in the cabinet. There were several balls stuffed in the drawer. He randomly picked one of them, reached out, and released chakra steadily into his palm, controlling the chakra to rotate randomly within it. A few seconds later, the rubber ball shattered with a bang. As the most comprehensive ninjutsu shown in the original work during his training, the Rasengan was naturally attempted to be replicated by Gen Uchiha. However, the learning difficulty of this technique is as high as A level, which means that the learning difficulty of the Rasengan actually exceeds the Jonin level. Naruto was able to learn it mostly because he used the multiple shadow clone technique to exploit a bug. The multiple shadow clone technique is also a rank a ninjutsu and a forbidden technique with great danger. It is difficult to perform without a huge amount of chakra. Uchiha hasn't mastered it yet, of course, but as a non-attribute ninjutsu, the Rasengan is an excellent indicator of a ninja's ability to control chakra. Uchiha is now used to training his chakra shape transformation ability by rolling a ball. Popping a balloon isn't particularly difficult. Uchiha could do it when he was in 4th grade. Popping a rubber ball, however, is much more difficult, but Uchiha can do it now. But the most difficult step is to combine high-density chakra, solidify it into a small typhoon while rotating, stabilize its shape during irregular internal movements, and enable it to move precisely inside the rubber ball without damaging it. However, after obtaining the character card of young Uchiha Madara, Uchiha felt that his ability to control chakra had improved slightly. The rubber ball held firm for a few more seconds than before. Now, it's time to go see the Grand Elder. I can go to the ninja tool shop run by the Ninja Cat clan and choose a suitable ninja sword first. The training period of this month was too tight, and Uchiha had not spent much time on swordsmanship before. I bought this bamboo sword a month ago to practice swordsmanship, but I haven't touched it many times. Fortunately, young Madara was quite skilled in swordsmanship. In the cutscene, even though he was not as strong as young Hashirama, Madara was still able to achieve a draw with Hashirama in the competition thanks to his more exquisite techniques. Thinking of this, and looking at the rubber ball fragments scattered all over the ground, Uchiha formed hand seals, channeled his wind-release chakra, and unleashed the gale palm, which stirred up a gentle breeze to sweep the dust and fragments on the ground into a dustpan in the corner. Then he turned and went out. If you can control your wind-release ninjutsu well, you can even save time from sweeping the floor when cleaning. After having lunch at a highly rated restaurant within the clan compound, Uchiha did not go directly to the ninja tool shop. Instead, he turned around and left the clan compound, heading towards the commercial street near the center of Konoha. This street has the highest foot traffic in Konoha village. Clans such as the Uchiha, Hyuga, and Yamezu all have shops here, making a fortune every day. Following the crowded flow of people, Uchiha arrived at the entrance of a shop filled with the aroma of medicine. Nara Pharmacy. At the counter stood a middle-aged ninja with a pineapple-shaped hairstyle. Oh, it's a young man from the Uchiha clan. Look, there's a catnip over there. Our store has a special set meal for customers who buy catnip. Buy 2 and you'll get a free ball of yarn. If you need to buy soldiers' rations and medicine, they are already prepared here. The middle-aged Nara ninja yawned, glanced at the red and white fan-shaped clan emblem on Uchiha body, and pointed to a medicine packet on another counter. Schizopeta is a Chinese medicinal herb with the effects of dispelling wind and clearing heat, promoting blood circulation and stopping bleeding. It is also frequently used in wound healing medicines. This stuff also has another name, catnip. I don't know when it started, But Uchiha clan ninjas would prepare some catnip before going to see the ninja cat. So when the Nara clan ninja recognized Uchiha Gen's family identity, he immediately pointed out the location of the catnip. 2 servings, please. Here, this is 160 taels. Thank you. 5 minutes later, near the Uchiha clan's territory, in a ninja tool shop with a lucky cat statue displayed at the entrance. Slurp Nara clan stuff, pretty pure. A chubby, orange-yellow cat twitched its pink, triangular nose and brought its entire head close to the 2 packets of catnip that Uchiha Gen had brought, its expression dreamy. Ninja Cat Senior, these are some small gifts I brought for you. I wonder if you have any ninja swords here that would be suitable for me. Gen Uchiha looked at the fat orange cat and asked politely, Young man, you've got a good eye. Let your cat grandfather take a look at this height and arms span. Come with me, what's your price range? Less than 50,000 taels. Uchiha Gen estimated the balance in his wallet. Since he contracted the ninja crow summoning beast, his financial situation has not been very good. The food I buy for these birds is of the highest quality, which can improve the quality of the chakra of the Gawa. Many of the Uchiha clans, ninjutsu and genjutsu, are related to ninja crows. For the sake of future development, we can't let these ninja crows go hungry. Even though he had recently been following Orochimaru's team on missions, the pay for D-rank missions was indeed not much. On average, each mission paid only 5,000 taels, and after splitting it with his teammates, there was not much left for him. 50,000 taels of silver. With that kind of money, you can forget about getting a high-quality sword. But for the sake of catnip, I'll try my best to pick out a decent one for you. The chubby orange cat waddled its plump body and walked past a row of shelves. These are the ones. The prices are all between 30,000 and 50,000. As for the quality, they're so-so. Although they're not top quality, they're definitely better than those standard ninja swords. Each one is made according to the standards of the Ninja Cat clan in terms of material selection and forging process. Whether it's sharpness, strength, or toughness, they're all up to standard. If you're willing to spend a little more, these 2 blades here will feel better and be more sturdy, which would suit you quite well. Following the fat orange cat's directions, Uchiha Gen took down the ninja swords one by one from the shelf. There are 5 in total, each with a different shape and weight, but they are all about the same length, making them suitable for your height and arm length. Gen Uchiha picked up the one closest to him first. Priced at 45,000 taels, the weight and feel are decent. I drew the sword, swung it in the air, creating a shallow ripple of air, then twirled it before sheathing it again. Chapter 20 ate the grudges and enmities between the Grand Elder and Teberman. The second one, priced at 46,000 taels, had an average feel and was much heavier than the first one, so it wasn't suitable for me. The third round. A few minutes later, the 5 ninja swords passed through Gen Uchiha's hands one by one. Overall, these 5 ninja swords are not very different, except that one of them is slightly heavier. Considering that the ninja swords he bought would eventually become obsolete, Gen Uchiha wasn't too picky. He simply chose one that felt relatively good in his hand. The wallet balance was immediately reduced by 47,000 taels. With his newly acquired ninja sword, Uchiha Gen went to another shop and spent 3,000 ryo to buy some high-end tobacco and 2 inexpensive but exquisite bracelets, bringing his total to 50,000 ryo. These are gifts prepared for the elder and Makoto and her daughter Mika. Although they had already said that there was no need to give anything, and that they didn't have much money since they had just become ninjas, and that their family didn't lack such a small thing, they couldn't really not give anything after the leader said not to. He may not want it, but you can't not give it, because it represents sending a basic signal to your superior. I truly keep you in my heart. You hold a special place there. Doing this will make your boss more likely to treat you as one of their own. Sister Makoto and Aunt Mikasa, this is just a small token of our appreciation. It's not worth much. At the entrance, Uchiha Gen handed the gift box to Misaki. Oh dear, you child, you didn't even need to bring a gift. Uchiha Mika greeted them at the door with a smile. All right, please accept this little something from the child. You really don't need to bring anything next time. Come in. The first elder, Uchiha Gen, walked to the door with his hands behind his back. Mikoto Uchiha naturally placed several cups of hot tea on the table to entertain her guests. However, the first elder clearly had no intention of being polite with Uchiha Gen. After taking a sip of tea, he spoke directly. Speak, what brings you to see me this time? Elder, I have awakened the Sharingan. Uchiha Jenichi said gently. The elder paused for a moment, then nodded in satisfaction. Awakening your Sharingan at this age is not late. To awaken it just 1 month after officially becoming a ninja, I was right about you. Your talent is indeed outstanding. Now show me your eyes. Upon hearing this, Uchiha Gen blinked, revealing a pair of Sharingan with a single tomo. Mikoto. The first elder spoke calmly. Zyro Yuan, look this way. Mikoto Uchiha put down the teapot and softly called out to Gen Uchiha. The moment the latter turned her head, Uchiha Mikoto activated her Sharingan the instant their eyes met. 15-year-old Uchiha Mikoto has a Sharingan with 2 tomo. Genjutsu Sharingan. Uchiha Gen immediately felt a powerful eye force, much stronger than his own, attacking his brain. With a muffled groan, the tomo in Uchiha Gen's eyes began to spin faster, and his expression relaxed. Mikoto Uchiha had no ill intentions. Rather, she used Genjutsu as a medium to help Gen Uchiha quickly hone and become familiar with his own eye power. Therefore, Gen Uchiha did not deliberately try to interrupt the Genjutsu, but instead used all his eye power to fight against it, thus familiarizing himself with how to mobilize his eye power. A boy and a girl stared at each other with their red eyes in front of the coffee table, looking at each other in a somewhat eerie way. The elder sat to one side, quietly drinking tea and waiting. 1 minute later, Mikoto Uchiha dispelled the Genjutsu and blinked her dry eyes a few times, while Gen Uchiha simply rubbed his eyes. Even with Sharingan, my eyes are incredibly dry after staring for so long. You can last a minute. It seems you're adapting quickly. You have a decent talent for using the Sharingan, but you still need more training. Let's go to the training grounds first, where I'll give you some pointers on the Sharingan. Then we'll go to the clan storehouse to choose some ninjutsu. Would you like to rest for a bit now? Uchiha Gen put down his teacup, his aged yet sharp eyes looking at the Uchiha, a rare hint of gentleness in them. A ninja who came from the Warring States period at his age is covered in injuries and illnesses. Even if he holds a high position and enjoys medical resources that ordinary ninjas cannot access, he still doesn't have many years left to live. For him, the most valuable thing in the last moments of his life was to personally nurture and witness the growth of talented Uchiha clan members, giving the clan hope of returning to its peak. Let's go now, Elder. Uchiha Gen addressed the Grand Elder. With Orochimaru, a top-tier all-around expert proficient in all aspects, guiding his training in ninjutsu and other areas, his future training direction is basically not a problem. However, in the Uchiha clan's specialized fields, such as the Sharingan, he still needs to rely on the elders of the clan. As a contemporary of Madara and Izuna, Gen Uchiha, although he did not awaken the Mangekyou Sharingan and was not as powerful as the two, was still a veteran Uchiha with the 3 tomo Sharingan, full of experience and keen insight. Among the current Uchiha clan, there is no one more suitable to guide him than him. The group followed the elder to a training ground within the Uchiha clan's territory. I have an old injury and am unable to fight. Let Mikoto spar with you instead. The elder straightened his back and addressed Uchiha Genji. Do you have any hidden injuries? An old injury. The elder nodded slowly and lifted the loose leg of his trousers. A large chunk of flesh was missing from the calf, replaced by an ingenious wooden mechanism containing several springs. This happened during the First Shinobi World War. When I fought against the ninjas of Kumagakure, I was injured by the third Reikage, who had not yet taken office. If it weren't for that old devil Tobarama Senju arriving in time to provide support, I would not have been his match and would probably have died from the Kumagakure secret technique, Hell Thrust. The elder pulled down his trouser leg again and poked his chest. But 35 years ago, a year before the village was founded, when I was escorting supplies with Izuna, I also encountered Tobarama Senju and was struck by his Thunder God sword. That insidious old white-haired devil used water-style chakra mixed with lightning to infiltrate my body. I could only survive by having part of my lung removed. When Gen Uchiha spoke of the past, his eyes were filled with sighs, and when he talked about Tobarama Senju, his tone was so complex that it was hard to describe. He once hated Tobarama Senju, but after the Uchiha clan reconciled with the Senju clan, Tobarama Senju saved him without holding a grudge. Removing part of the lung will undoubtedly have a significant impact on athletic ability, especially combat endurance, while the loss of a section of the calf will undoubtedly have a huge impact on explosive power and mobility. Chapter 29 Elder, I thought I saw Madara. In terms of fighting ability, Gen Uchiha certainly still has it, and he will most likely remain at the level of a Jonin or higher, just like Kasuke Maruboshi in the future. But if he were to take action, it would mean that his already battered and aging body would suffer the pain and torment of injury once again. If you can avoid suffering, then there's no need to suffer. After intensively studying medical ninjutsu during this period, Gen Uchiha also knew the current state of medical conditions in the ninja world, let alone 20 or 30 years ago. Not to mention that Tsunade hasn't even created a regeneration technique that can repair organs and muscles yet, so there's no way his injuries can be healed. Forget it, there's no point in bringing up these old stories now. The future belongs to you young people. Uchiha Gen sighed and waved his hand. You too continue. I'll watch. Don't worry about hurting each other. Although I'm old, I still have some skills left. Yes, elder. Yes, grandfather. The boy and girl nodded to Uchiha Gen in unison, then walked onto the training ground together and formed the opposing seals simultaneously. Zyro Yuan, I'm going up now. Mikoto Uchiha stood gracefully opposite Gen Uchiha, a smile on her face. Her eyes once again revealed the Sharingan with 2 tomo. She drew a gleaming short sword from her waist with her right hand, while her left hand quietly rested on her ninja tool pouch. Come on, Mikoto-ni. Following the stance of the Uchiha Ryu swordsmanship, Uchiha Gen slowly drew the newly purchased ninja sword from his waist. This is a good opportunity to familiarize myself with the various abilities of the young Ban card. It's similar to playing some games where the same hero, the same stats, skills and mechanics, but the effect depends on the player's skill, awareness, proficiency, and so on. The Grand Elder, who was in the distance, had also revealed his 3 tomo Sharingan and was watching the battlefield. When Uchiha Gen adopted the starting stance, a strange sense of familiarity suddenly welled up in the Grand Elder's heart. Clang! Several shuriken were thrown by Uchiha Mikoto, but Uchiha Gen reacted quickly, flicking his ninja sword to knock the shuriken away. In the next instant, Uchiha Makoto moved like a falling cherry blossom, deftly drawing her sword and stabbing towards Uchiha Gen. So fast. The latter was immediately startled. He lowered his body to stabilize his center of gravity, and with both hands holding the knife, he launched an upward slash. The two swords clashed, producing the sound of metal striking metal once again. Their eyes can see, and their movements can keep up. Uchiha Gen immediately felt reassured. Makoto is indeed very strong. In the future of the original timeline, she was also an Uchiha Jonin who had awakened the three-tomo Sharingan, and she must have awakened it at the age of 19. That was the age when Makoto gave birth to Itachi in the original timeline. Although Makoto Uchiha is not yet 16 years old, she is already a special Jonin with considerable strength. If it were before, he would have retreated and created distance, relying on his solid Shuriken Jutsu and excellent ninjutsu skills to maneuver against him and look for an opportunity to break the deadlock, although he probably wouldn't have had much of a chance to win. Now that he possesses the card of young Madara, Gen Uchiha is certain that he is qualified to go toe-to-toe with Makoto, who has awakened her double Tomo. With a thought, Uchiha Gen twisted his waist and swung his arm, the blade slicing through the air in a sideways slash. Makoto, as if she had anticipated this, deftly performed a somersault and simultaneously threw out 3 senbon needles, which shot towards Uchiha Gen's brow, throat, and heart respectively. The latter's actions at this moment were unexpected by Makoto. Although the 3 senbon needles were thrown out in a concealed manner, Uchiha Makoto believed that Uchiha Gen, who had activated his Sharingan, could not possibly have failed to notice them, and would definitely have dodged to the rear or side. Only if she can force Uchiha Gen to retreat and create distance between them will she have the opportunity to form hand seals and unleash ninjutsu, forcing the latter into her battle rhythm. But Makoto did not expect that Uchiha Gen would not retreat or dodge, but instead would advance, leap forward, and burst forth with lightning speed, slashing out with his ninja sword. Uchiha style, sword leap slash. At that moment, the Grand Elder, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, suddenly widened his eyes, and the 3 tomo in his eye sockets began to spin faster, reflecting his inner emotions. Although it was different times and different people, the meaning and momentum in their movements were surprisingly similar. Spod. The elder murmured a name, the name of a man who was once so powerful that everyone despaired before him and who made all Uchiha proud. The child reminded him of Ban, especially Ban when he was young. The elder's age was similar to that of Tobirama Senju and Izuna Uchiha, and he was only slightly younger than Madara Uchiha. Although he wasn't as outstanding as the brothers Madara and Izuna when he was young, he was still a top-tier genius ninja in the clan, second only to them. He sparred with them a lot and fought alongside them. It can be said that among all the people still alive in Konoha, no one is more familiar with the abilities and fighting style of young Uchiha Madara than him. They look so alike. As Gen Uchiha watched the 2 enormous fireballs collide in midair, the dazed look in his eyes quickly returned. Fortunately, he only resembles Madara in close combat when using swordsmanship. In other aspects such as ninjutsu, although he looks somewhat like Madara, there are still some differences. This is because after years of training and guidance from Orochimaru, Uchiha Gen had developed his own skills in many areas. Moreover, the two have distinctly different styles. Madara's personality is extremely strong and fierce, with a touch of domineering and sharpness, yet he is not lacking in detail and combat wisdom, with a strong personal style. In this respect, Uchiha Gen is somewhat different. But they still look very similar. At this moment, Uchiha Gen suddenly felt a sense of relief. Fortunately, that evil white-haired old devil, Tobirama Senju, had already died 18 years ago. That guy certainly has some talent, but his methods are truly despicable. His fear of the Uchiha clan is deeply ingrained. Moreover, he and Hashirama fought against Madara and Izuna quite a few times when they were young. Everyone says that someone later resembled you by a third, which made me panic. Now, the resemblance between Uchiha Gen and Madara in his youth is more than just a few points. If Tobirama Senju were alive today, he probably wouldn't have been able to sleep that night after seeing this scene, and he would have used both soft and hard tactics to take action against Gen Uchiha the next day. Fortunately, he is already dead. Of the remaining old guys who also witnessed Ban's youthful prowess, few are still alive, and like him, they have all retired to the second line due to their age. Chapter 30, Toad Power. Will this child become the second blemish? The elder stared blankly at Uchiha Gen, who was fighting Makoto, for a moment before quickly dismissing the thought. How many beings with such great power have emerged during the thousands of years of the Warring States period? Even though the elder had high hopes for Uchiha Gen, he only felt that he had the potential to become a top ninja in the ninja world and revitalize the Uchiha clan. Yuan's performance at this moment further convinced the Grand Elder of this. This is enough for the Grand Elder to make some new decisions. A dozen minutes later. Misakane, you're amazing. I'm under a lot of pressure playing against you. Uchiha Gen, panting heavily, stopped fighting along with Makoto. You're the really amazing one, Yuan. If I were a fresh graduate and fought you, I probably wouldn't last a minute against you. Mikoto Uchiha brushed her sweat-dampened hair aside, her smile still gentle, but now with a touch more cheerfulness than before. This was just a friendly spar, not a life-or-death struggle. Neither of them was fighting to the death. They had already shown what they needed to show, so it was time to stop. Even so, this young lady from the Great Elder's family was still shocked by the strength displayed by Uchiha Gen. So this is what a true genius is. All right, Makoto Gen, come here. At some point, the Grand Elder regained his calm and collected demeanor, as if he had experienced the ups and downs of life and seen through everything. He led the two to the clan's treasury, while giving them pointers on the techniques of using the Sharingan. Having awakened a single Tomo Sharingan, one is now qualified to browse the contents of the third layer of the clan's treasury. Some secret techniques related to the Sharingan can also be practiced at this time. Soon, just an hour later, Uchiha Gen returned home with several copies of the scroll. Uchiha-style swordsmanship Part 2, daily training and maintenance of the Sharingan, windmill manipulation, third sword. Tesk, I just finished reading those torturous medical ninjutsu books, and now a new one is coming. Gen Uchiha sighed, somewhat troubled. Since graduating from the Ninja Academy, although I have had a fulfilling life and made rapid progress, I have also been very busy and have hardly had any time to rest. However, in this era, every bit of progress and every bit of increased strength becomes the capital for survival in the future. No matter how bitter or tiring it is, in order to survive in this perilous ninja world, one can only grit one's teeth and become a ninja. In any case, before truly becoming strong enough, one must survive these two most intense and longest-lasting ninja wars. That night, Orochimaru's team announced a temporary disbandment after a barbecue party hosted by the Akimichi clan. The next day, at dawn, outside Konoha village, a sizable delegation of Cloud Village envoys, escorted by Konoha's Anbu, arrived at the village gate. Hokage advisor Mitakado Hamura, along with Jonin leader Orochimaru and members of the Political Affairs Department, received them. As for the third Hokage, he did not come out to greet him directly. The two sides are not of equal status. If the third Hokage is to be received, then the third Raikage, who is of equal status must come. Otherwise, it would seem that Konoha is too eager, and it would be beneath them. Meanwhile, Uchiha Gen and his two teammates were looking at the tall, white-haired man in front of them with suspicion. Hey, you kids, what kind of look is that? Jiraiya, looking embarrassed and annoyed, addressed Uchiha Gen and the others. Ruri, Yuzuki sighed. We don't want to look at you like that either. Uchiha Gen stared with dead fish eyes. But even though it's time for the ninja team to arrive, they're still spying on the bathhouse. Sarutobi Enjun covered his face and said, I feel like it would be really embarrassing if word got out about this. Maybe we should just leave Jiraiya behind and go train on our own. Haha, don't worry, I'm always very careful. With my superb stealth skills, I usually won't be discovered. After all, this kind of thing can easily have a great negative impact on my high reputation and great image in the village. Jiraiya laughed loudly, but glanced at Uchiha Gen. Not to brag, but his ability to infiltrate is truly remarkable. Even though he was somewhat relaxed in his vigilance while spying on the bathhouse because he was in Konoha, he still managed to be caught by this kid. You're an Uchiha who's awakened the Sharingan, and you can even sense ninjutsu. Ahem, I think so too. So, Jiraiya-senpai, you don't want this kind of thing to get out, do you? A smile resembling Anya immediately appeared on Gen Uchiha's face as he said to Jiraiya in a cheeky tone. The latter was immediately stunned. You brat, why does that line sound so familiar? Which show did you learn it from? Share it with us. Jiraiya-senpai, you're overthinking it. Tusk, you brat. It seems I really can't get rid of you without pulling out something good today. Orochimaru is really something, leaving me with such a big problem. Jiraiya scratched his head, then formed a hand seal and slapped the ground. Ninja art, summoning technique. The spirit communication array spread across the ground, accompanied by the emergence of white smoke. A toad, more than 2 people tall, with a bright green body and lipstick painted on its large mouth, appeared before the group. This toad. Uchiha Gen's heart skipped a beat. Little Jiraiya, what's the matter that you called me all this way? A seductive male voice, feigning charm, rang out, and the toad even winked at Jiraiya. Appearance, as shown in the picture. Toad power, I called you here today because these little guys want you to train them. Jiraiya pointed behind Gamabunter. The latter hopped around and turned to look at Uchiha Gen and the other two. Then his gaze shifted between Uchiha Gen and Sarutobi and Jun. Don't worry, I'll take good care of these little guys, slurp. The ominous premonition seemed to be coming true. Uchiha Gen turned to look to his side and found that Sarutobi and Jun's face had turned green with fright. Ahem, that Uchiha brat doesn't need to train his genjutsu resistance anymore. He's already awakened his Sharingan, so I'll take care of him. Oh, I see. What a pity. This Uchiha guy is clearly the most handsome. Hama Lee said, with a regretful expression. Gen Uchiha quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, we escaped unscathed. Having the Sharingan means that one is naturally at least 2 levels above other ninjas of the same rank in the field of genjutsu, and there is no need to train genjutsu resistance. I am grateful for the Uchiha clan's bloodline, and for Madara's Sharingan, which spared me from torment. Well, Jiraiya-senpai, we don't need to train our genjutsu resistance, right? Orochimaru-sense also gave us a ninja tool to train our genjutsu resistance, so. Chapter 31, Jiraiya's Guidance, Compound Ninjutsu. Sarutobi and Jun hurriedly stepped forward and said to Jiraiya, while gesturing with his eyes for Uchiha Gen to take out the bell. Haha, it's all right. Orochimaru already told me about this little bell, so don't worry. This bell is a sound-based genjutsu, while the Toad Jutsu is all-encompassing. With his skill level, the combination of the two will definitely be more effective than using either one alone. At this moment, the smug expression shifted to Jiraiya. The pitfalls I've fallen into, you guys are going to fall into them again. Sarutobi and Jun's face turned even greener, and Yuzuki Ruri was also somewhat worried. Very good, let's begin. Jiraiya spoke up. Okay, I'm here. You can go first, buddy. Under Sarutobi and Jun's terrified gaze, Gamakuri stretched out his long tongue and lunged at him. No. Ugh. Gen Uchiha couldn't bear to look and closed his eyes. Although Jiraiya and Gamabunter were very measured and the scene wasn't too violent, it was still somewhat bizarre. A few seconds later, Sarutobi and Jun collapsed to the ground in terror, his hands forming hand seals as he tried to disrupt the genjutsu's effect on his chakra and used all his strength to dispel it. Well, the scene in this illusion is far more violent and bizarre than anything in reality, so Sarutobi and Jun has no choice but to give it his all. Gamakuri-senpai, please. Please don't hold back. I'll give it my all. Ruri Yuzuki faced the Toad with a determined expression. A girl. She's quite cute. Okay, now it's your turn. Gamakuri blew a kiss to Yuzuki Ruri, and the flying heart and long tongue touched Yuzuki Ruri's face, hypnotizing her into an illusionary world. Hey kid, Bell, increase the intensity for them. Jiraiya reached out his hand to Uchiha Gen. The latter delivered the illusion bell to Jiraiya, who then tossed it to Gamabunter. They're all yours now, Toad Force, you little brat. Let's go, it's time to show you my teaching skills. Jiraiya stood with his hands on his hips, head held high, striding forward with a confident tone. 2 hours later, on the other side of the training field. Fire release, great fireball technique. Wind release, chaotic airflow. The enormous fireball was swirled and rotated by the airflow, crashing into the solid, compacted sand and creating an irregular crater. The powerful impact caused debris to scatter everywhere, and even the ground briefly turned red-hot, before turning grayish-white again after the heat subsided. Tusk, I really am a genius. With just a little guidance, this kid can use the compound ninjutsu so well. Jiraiya leaned against a tree in the distance, his left hand behind his head, holding a novel with an explicit cover in his right hand, his eyes stealing glances at Uchiha Gen, and he couldn't help but boast. I wonder which person will be so lucky in the future to meet such a genius teacher. On the other side, Uchiha Gen looked at the marks on the ground and breathed a slight sigh of relief, quite satisfied with his progress. Jiraiya and Orochimaru are both very strong teachers. Judging from their results alone, the former is stronger. Apart from Yahiko, who died young, all of their students are incredibly talented. Conan, who has cage-level strength, is ranked last among them. However, apart from Sasuke, who became his father, among the other people Orochimaru trained, only Kabuto Yakashi's strength can be considered extraordinary, and that was after he absorbed Orochimaru's legacy after Orochimaru's death and became self-taught. After undergoing training under Jiraiya, Gen Uchiha roughly understood why the teaching results of the two were so different. Compared to Orochimaru, Jiraiya was undoubtedly much more long-winded, but in many ways, Jiraiya was far more meticulous than Orochimaru. Orochimaru is too genius. He is so genius that what many people consider difficult problems are just trivial issues to him, or even problems at all. For example, if you ask him how to solve a problem, Orochimaru will only glance at the question, give you a solution that skips many steps, and then tell you that it's detailed enough. If you still can't understand this, then you're stupid, and I don't know how to make you understand. Jiraiya was different. Although his talent far surpassed that of ordinary ninjas, His comprehension was not as good as his teammate Orochimaru. In his childhood, it was already extremely difficult for him to keep up with the team's progress. But even a fool has his own way of doing things. He couldn't learn 10,000 ninjutsu like Orochimaru, but he could practice one ninjutsu 10,000 times, building a very solid foundation and using the simplest moves to unleash their strongest power. They strive for perfection in every detail, even the simplest ones. When Naruto first started Shippuden, he didn't learn many powerful ninjutsu, but Jiraiya trained him to have a very solid foundation, which allowed him to grow rapidly within a year. The same was true for Nagato and Konan. Jiraiya did not teach them any advanced or powerful ninjutsu, and he did not teach them any of the ninjutsu belonging to Konoha. After believing that they were capable of protecting themselves, he left the land of rain early on. They were able to become so powerful later on, even though they didn't receive Jiraiya's guidance during their subsequent growth period. However, the solid foundation that Jiraiya laid for them allowed them to quickly grow stronger after finding their direction. There is a guaranteed minimum, and the maximum is also very high. If there's a drawback, it's that Jiraiya's teaching style is rather slow and time-consuming in the early stages, emphasizing gradual accumulation. Without a stroke of luck or talent like Minato or Konan, it's difficult to break through the ceiling. Orochimaru's approach is directly linked to talent, making it most suitable for genius ninjas like Sasuke Uchiha and Kabuto Yakashi, who, like him, possess high intelligence and strong comprehension. For those with mediocre talent, there are various forbidden techniques and black technologies that can help them forcibly break through the upper limit of their own strength, but they are prone to becoming expendable experimental subjects. From this perspective, Jiraiya seems to be quite suited to himself in some ways. The few years he had with Sakura Haruno's character card were enough for him to digest Sakura's abilities from that period into his own, which was almost equivalent to attending the Ninja Academy twice, making his foundation extremely solid. Well, you've pretty much got the hang of composite ninjutsu. Wind can continuously stir the air, allowing fire to come into contact with more oxygen, making it burn more fully, and it can also expand the range of the flames. This is the most basic principle of how wind release can enhance fire release, and it's not difficult for someone of your level. However, if you want to continue improving, you need to further enhance your wind release skills. Compared to your fire release, your wind release level is considerably weaker. Chapter 32, Tsunade's Exam. In addition, you need to further strengthen your ability to control the form of fire release, because the next step is to use wind release to enhance the speed and impact of the flames. Without a solid foundation in form transformation, it is impossible to maintain control over the direction, trajectory, form, and power of fire release ninjutsu in the gale. As for what comes after that, that involves chakra nature, which falls under the realm of Jonin. We'll have to wait until you've learned at least one wind release or fire release chakra nature transformation before we discuss that. Jiraiya put away the erotic book, looked at Uchiha Gendo, and continued to recount the details. Gen Uchiha wiped the sweat from his forehead, listening quietly to what Jiraiya had to say, occasionally asking a few questions. The latter will also provide a detailed answer to Uchiha Gen's question. Jiraiya was proficient in both wind and fire elemental ninjutsu. In fact, it could be said that, apart from being unskilled in lightning release, he was very adept at combining the other basic elemental ninjutsu, clearly having received the true teachings of Hiruzen Sarutobi. Soon after the explanation, Gen Uchiha returned to training. No matter how detailed the explanation, you still have to put it into practice to truly gain something. Jiraiya seemed to think he had explained things in enough detail, so he left Uchiha Gen and the others behind and went off to have some fun somewhere. Perhaps they weren't satisfied with what they saw at the previous bathhouse and decided to go back for more. He didn't reappear until several hours later. That's all for today's training. Looking at the marks all over the training ground, Jiraiya nodded to himself and pointed behind Uchiha Gen. Ruri Yuzuki, pale-faced, supported Enjun Sarutobi, who was vomiting so badly he could barely walk, as they walked from the other side of the training ground. Gen Uchiha believed that Jiraiya would choose to end things at this time, because if he didn't, something would happen to Ruri Yuzuki and Enjun Sarutobi. Is the illusionary magic of the toad really that terrifying? Little Jiraiya, I'll take my leave now. Remember to visit Mount Myaboku often when you have time, and I'll definitely prepare the most sumptuous feast for you. Gamakuri continued speaking to Jiraiya in his deliberately seductive voice. Ahem, there will be a chance, toad power, next time for sure. Jiraiya, thinking of the feast the toads of Mount Myaboku had mentioned, responded with a slightly embarrassed expression. I'll be going now. Gamabunta winked at Jiraiya, dispelled the summoning jutsu, and vanished in a puff of white smoke. Jiraiya-senpai, could you please change the training method next time? I feel like I'm going to lose 10 years of my life after this genjutsu resistance training. Sarutobi Enjun, his face contorted in a grimace, poured out his grievances to Jiraiya. Ruri Yuzuki pursed her lips and nodded emphatically. Training with Orochimaru was simply exhausting, while training with Jiraiya was pure mental torture. Well, Orochimaru instructed me to train your resistance to genjutsu. At your current stage, I don't think I have any other way to help you. Jiraiya scratched his head. It's not like he should be asked to use illusion magic to train them himself. He is very good at resisting illusions, but not so good at using them. This weakness is made up for by the summoning beasts of Mount Myaboku. Asking him to cast illusions himself would be less effective than using the toad's power. Is it really that scary, Flame Falcon? Gen Uchiha nudged Sarutobi in Jun's shoulder and whispered. It's 1,000,000 times more perverted than the most bizarre things you can imagine. Brother, believe me, never try to uncover its secrets. You'll go crazy. Luckily, the illusionary world Leoli experienced was different from mine. Otherwise, I would definitely have gone insane. The eldest son of the third Hokage, a top-tier second-generation and third-generation Hokage of Konoha, was now in tears, sobbing uncontrollably. In the entire Hidden Leaf village, Jiraiya was probably the only one who used such a torturous method to train him. Ahem, although the process was a bit uncomfortable, the effect was quite good, wasn't it? As long as you train to the point where you can break through this illusion in a short time, then you will already have the ability to resist most conventional illusions. Then, if we increase the difficulty a bit, it's not impossible to train to my level. Jiraiya heard what Sarutobi Enjun said, and immediately patted the latter on the shoulder. Unexpectedly, this was an even more terrifying shock for the latter. Can the difficulty be increased even further? Jiraiya-senpai, how did you manage to get through that back then? Young Master Sarutobi's face was filled with shock. Now I understand why Jiraiya-senpai has this kind of personality. Spying on women in the bathhouse and reading erotic novels, it must be because he suffered unspeakable mental and physical torment during this training that he had to use this method to compensate for his inner flaws, right? The story of Leoli in the month of Mao, Chinese letter, is quite plausible, and the explanation is very eloquent. Jiraiya opened his mouth, wanting to refute, but found that he had no way to refute it. What could he say? Is he saying he's not like that, but rather that he was born lewd and perverted? All right, enough of this nonsense. I'll take you to Tsune to help you recover, and while we're at it, I'll let this kid learn some medical ninjutsu from her. Jiraiya waved his hand impatiently, strode forward, and gestured for the others to hurry up and follow. The three members of Orochimaru's team exchanged glances, all seeing the joy in each other's eyes, and then scurried over. For Orochimaru, it was hard work. For Jiraiya, it was torture. But for Tsunade, it was pure enjoyment. Hiss. Hi. Kimoji. Sarutobi Enjan, like a mentally challenged child who still drools even after being cured, leaned against the bed with lifeless eyes. Ah, arigato gozaimasu, Lady Tsunade. With a blush on her face, Ruri Yuzuki lay on the bed and whispered her thanks. Don't mention it. I happen to be free around this time, every day lately. If you're tired from training, you can come here to relax. After all, Jiraiya is really. Sigh. Tsunade shook her head. Others may not know what kind of person Jiraiya is, but doesn't she know? In matters of reliability, Jiraiya was incredibly reliable, but in other areas. Lady Tsunade, I have finished the exam. Please give me your feedback. On the wooden desk on the other side, Uchiha Gen put down his pencil and handed the fully written test paper to Tsunade. The latter took the test paper, her beautiful eyes looking at Uchiha Gen, and said in a crisp voice, Are you sure you don't want to check again? Saving lives is not like taking an exam. You only need 60 points to pass an exam, but saving lives allows no room for error. Saving lives also requires timeliness. If a mistake is made after the surgery, there may not be a time to correct it. Chapter 33, Hemostasis. A faint smile immediately appeared on Tsunade's face. Clearly, Gen Uchiha's answer pleased her. Then those bright and beautiful eyes turned their gaze to the test paper that Uchiha Gen had made and quickly scanned it. Have you studied any related medical knowledge before? Tsunade suddenly asked. I only learned about human anatomy in class, and I know which parts of the body are most effective for killing and how to perform emergency bandaging when I am injured and bleeding on the battlefield. Gen Uchiha answered truthfully. It seems Orochimaru was right when he said you have a talent for learning theoretical knowledge. Tsunade nodded slightly and put down the test paper. Basically all correct. At least every answer is a standard answer derived from the teaching materials I gave you. Although it will definitely be different in actual practice due to the circumstances, I am quite satisfied. Come with me. This afternoon, I will tell you about the subsequent training methods for medical ninjutsu and prepare some materials. After I am gone, you can study on your own, but as before, leave all your insights from the learning process. Soon after, Gen Uchiha and Tsunade left the room and went to another place filled with medical equipment. After folding and arranging things, Tsunade set up a table and then hurriedly ran out. Not long after, he came in carrying a rabbit by its ears. I just bought a rabbit, so I'll use it as a teaching aid today. Watch carefully. Today I'm going to teach you the most basic and practical hemostasis technique. This technique is only C rank in difficulty and doesn't require any particularly special chakra. Pay attention. Tsunade's style, from childhood to old age, has always been so decisive and efficient. She started demonstrating as soon as she entered. On the battlefield, anesthesia is often not used when using this technique to avoid affecting subsequent combat effectiveness. However, since we are teaching, the necessary anesthesia process is still required to prevent this rabbit from moving around and affecting the teaching. Of course, if your perception is sensitive enough and you have mastered an A-rank medical ninjutsu called chakra scalpel, you can also directly sever the nerves around the wound. However, that is still a long way off for you. Let's start with the basics first. Tsunade took out a reagent from the side and used a syringe to draw a tube of anesthetic into it. The formula for this anesthetic was mentioned in the exam paper you just wrote. I won't go into the details of how to prepare it. First, we do this. After the needle pierced the ear vein, Tsunade began to instruct Gen Uchiha to judge the rabbit's condition by observing its corneal reflex and muscle relaxation, based on the rabbit's reactions. Next, the hair was removed, and then a small incision was made to demonstrate the details of the hemostasis technique. Uchiha Gen had already quietly opened his sharingen, the tomo in his eyes rotating, clearly capturing every movement of Tsunade. The sharingen needs to reach the 2 tomo stage to be considered a clone eye, but even with only 1 tomo, it still has a decent effect on replicating action-type techniques. When it comes to the direction of chakra, it's better than nothing and still has some use. Within seconds, the bleeding from the rabbit's wounds had stopped. After that, bandages are usually used. The tightness of the bandage depends on the severity of the injury and the effectiveness of hemostasis. The wound can also be sutured before hemostasis is applied to enhance the hemostasis effect. This can also reduce the difficulty of applying hemostasis and reduce the risk of the wound reopening. Suturing is generally necessary when dealing with large incisions. Tsunade quickly picked up the scalpel next to her and made a long cut on the rabbit's body. Like this. This rabbit is obviously a bit pitiful, because after receiving Tsunade's demonstration, it still has to go through Gen Uchiha's practical training. Tsunade's skills were extremely high. Apart from losing a little blood, the rabbit was healed on the spot by Tsunade's medical ninjutsu after the demonstration. However, when it came to the actual training with Uchiha Gen, things became much more complicated. Even during the second experiment, Gen Uchiha accidentally increased his chakra output and burned his wound, although this could be considered a form of hemostasis. Try again. Tsunade seemed to have noticed something and frowned. At this moment, Uchiha Gen also had a sudden thought. He remembered that in the original timeline, when Sarada was demonstrating how to treat dead fish to Sakura, she seemed to have gone even further than he had, directly grilling the fish. Having read through the original manga several times, and considering my own experiences over the years in the Naruto world, I don't think I've ever heard of any Uchiha who is skilled in medical ninjutsu. Is it because of the chakra nature? Medical ninjutsu is ultimately a form of yang release ninjutsu. If the yang aspect of chakra cannot function, other properties will naturally manifest. Both he and Sarada are Uchiha, and yin release and fire release account for a large proportion of their chakra attributes. Even though everyone has both yin and yang, the sharingen is the representative bloodline of yin release. When the nature of yin release overwhelms the nature of yang release, the nature of fire release will naturally begin to appear. The fact that he didn't roast the rabbit directly shows that he has excellent control over his chakra. With that thought in mind, Gen Uchiha removed the character card of young Madara. Uchiha Madara, young, has been removed. Sakura Haruno, Ninja Academy, is equipped. Since this wasn't the first time equipping this character card, no recruitment animation appeared. Uchiha Gen felt that the strength of his body and chakra had decreased by several %, but he also vaguely grasped something else. Yes, Lady Tsunade. Gen Uchiha used a scalpel to make a small incision on the other side of the rabbit's body. Then the green light in his palm flickered, and he pressed it onto the rabbit's wound. This time, the hemostasis technique was much more effective than before. Although it was far inferior to Tsunade's, after a few minutes of loosening, some scabs had already appeared on the edges of the wound. Gen Uchiha breathed a sigh of relief. This can truly be described as a situation where, after seemingly reaching a dead end, a new path opens up before you do. Fortunately, it worked. I originally thought that after I had basically digested Sakura Haruno's abilities and drawn the character card of young Madara, this card could be put away and gathered dust in the warehouse, except when I was studying the theory. I didn't expect it to have another use now. Upon seeing this, Tsunede's brows relaxed, realizing that her previous guess had been wrong. Not bad. Your foundation is solid enough, and your chakra control is also quite good. I can't say how far you'll go in the future, but at least you can learn most of the basic medical ninjutsu without any problem. Chapter 34, Tobarama's Corpse. Uchiha Gen spent the entire afternoon at the Senju mansion, tossing and turning over the rabbit. The practice didn't end until evening, when night was almost over. While he wasn't yet highly proficient in hemostasis, he had at least mastered the basics under Tsunede's guidance. In an undisturbed environment, he could complete a basic hemostasis procedure in just 1 or 2 minutes. All right, next, all you need to do is master the application of hemostasis techniques. Being able to stop bleeding quickly in a battlefield environment is basically considered passing. This is the next learning course: healing techniques that accelerate wound healing by stimulating body cells, and healing techniques that reconnect severed nerves in living fish. Only when you reach this level are you qualified to learn the palm healing technique, which is the foundation of all advanced medical ninjutsu. Tsunade nodded in satisfaction, holding a small booklet in her hand, which recorded Uchiha Gen's performance in the process of learning medical ninjutsu. This record is very valuable to her. She has basically completed the system of medical ninjutsu, and now she needs a guinea pig to try it out and provide first-hand data for adjustments. Gen Uchiha's learning speed was acceptable to Tsunade. It wasn't slow. Therefore, Tsunade still had certain expectations for him. Once the feasibility of this medical ninjutsu system is proven, it means that medical ninjas can be trained on a large scale. When the number is large, it means that there is a high probability of high-level medical ninjas emerging. With Konoha's support, medical ninjas could theoretically take to the ninja world stage, just like special ninja professions, such as puppeteers, changing the war situation, greatly reducing unnecessary casualties, and increasing a ninja village's sustainable combat capability. And she, Tsunade, will become the ancestor of all medical ninjas, living up to the prestige of her grandfather, the first Hokage, and becoming a legendary ninja in people's eyes. Therefore, the better Uchiha Gen performs in the field of medical ninjutsu, the more convincing he will be to the third Hokage and other high-ranking officials of Konoha in the future. Thank you for your instruction, Lady Tsunade. Uchiha Gen packed up his tools and thanked Tsunade. As the only surviving descendant of the first Hokage, Tsunade, who was born after the founding of Konoha, is different from other Senju ninjas. Like her grandfather, she is not bound by the grudges between the Senju and Uchiha clans. Instead, she is quite magnanimous and has no prejudice against any particular faction. There is something there. She is a true follower. You are Orochimaru's disciple, and your relationship with us isn't that distant, so there's no need to be so polite. Tsunade waved her hand, magnanimously. Just then, the door was pushed open, and an old woman with white hair and a few red strands walked in with a cane. "Grandma, what brings you here?" Tsunade quickly stepped forward to help Maito use Uzumaki. "It's almost lunchtime, so of course Grandma's here to call you to eat. Young man of the Uchiha clan, would you like to come along? This rabbit is perfect as a snack with drinks. Although I'm old, my cooking skills are still excellent. Even your first Hokage praised it highly." Maito Uzumaki looked at Tsunade with a loving smile, then turned to Genji Uchiha. "Wouldn't this be too much trouble for you? How about I do it? Can you eat spicy food?" Uchiha Gen did not refuse, but pointed to the rabbit that was almost tortured to death. Actually, he's quite skilled. Making spicy rabbit meat wouldn't be a problem for him. "Okay, it's settled then." Tsunade made her decision with great confidence. Just then, there was another knock on the door, Tsunade, Lady Mito, the third Hokage requests your presence. Mito and Tsunade exchanged a glance, and then the former spoke. Do you understand what it is? The Kumagakure delegation brought some items, which the third Hokage judged to be related to the seals on the legendary Six Paths ninja tools. If they can be broken, perhaps the second Hokage's sealed body can be retrieved. The corpse of Tobarama Senju, the second Hokage. Back then, Tobarama Senju led a Hokage escort team composed of 6 disciples to Kumagakure to forge a peace treaty with the second Reikage. However, they encountered the rebellion of Kinkaku and Jinkaku, which led to the death of the second Reikage. During the subsequent escape, Tobarama Senju covered the retreat of his disciples and fought against Kinkaku and Jinkaku. As one of the parties involved, the third Hokage knew the details best and personally led a search party to try to rescue Tobarama Senju. The second Hokage, however, possessed the Flying Thunder God technique and was the fastest ninja in the world. There was almost nothing that could kill him, except for certain overpowered methods. For example, the Six Paths tools, whose functional mechanism is almost equivalent to rule-based items, have the potential to seal Tobarama Senju. Even a ninja as exceptionally strong and intelligent as Tobarama Senju would stumble if he were unfamiliar with the relevant information. For the third Hokage, having the opportunity to retrieve Tobarama Senju's body was something he had to do everything in his power to do. He was Tobarama Senju's disciple, trained by Tobarama, and the position of Hokage was also passed down to him by Tobarama. If he was unwilling to do even this kind of thing with all his might, then whether it was the disciple of the second Hokage or the elders of the Senju clan who still held a certain position in Konoha, they would all have opinions. If word got out, he would lose face even more. Not to mention Danzo, who had always coveted the Hokage position. If Hiruzen Sarutobai's handling of the situation is unpopular, he will definitely jump out and try to shake the third Hokage's position. Looks like I won't be able to enjoy spicy rabbit meat today. Genji, you should go back and eat too. Tsunade and I will probably have to stay at the Hokage building tonight. Mito Uzumaki shook her head. Then we'll be going now. Kushina will be back from school soon, so we won't close the door yet. Tsunade, supporting Mito Uzumaki, was the first to walk out of the house. Then I'll take my leave as well, Lady Tsunade, Lady Mito. Uchiha Gen nodded slightly to the two of them and followed them out. After leaving the house, he headed towards the Uchiha clan's territory. Today's training was very fruitful. Whether it's compound ninjutsu or medical ninjutsu, they have successfully mastered them under the guidance of Jiraiya and Tsunade, which is commendable. So, by that calculation, I've essentially been taught by all 3 future legendary Konoha ninja. The task for the next few days is to quickly master the hemostasis technique and improve one's wind release ninjutsu skills. Just as Uchiha Gen was taking stock of his day's achievements, he suddenly stopped and looked at several Ninja Academy students walking home from school in the distance, frowning. Chapter 35, Rescue Kushina. Something seems off. Uchiha Gen paused in his steps. It was so quiet on my way here. It only got busier here. What attracted the people near the Senju old house? Sakura Haruno, a ninja trainee, has been removed from her training. Uchiha Madara, young, is equipped. A pair of crimson Sharingan appeared. Uchiha Gen turned his head to observe his surroundings, and then used sensory ninjutsu, combined with the Sharingan's perception, to gather all the information about his surroundings in a few breaths. The next second, he decisively turned around and ran back towards the Senju family mansion. Meanwhile, Kushina Uzumaki, who was returning to the Senju mansion via another route, was looking at several masked men in black who appeared in front of her with a look of horror. This is the Senju family mansion, How could someone have infiltrated it? Where are Tsunade and Maito? And what about the ANBU ninjas guarding this place? Why aren't you here? Arrest them, then leave immediately. The tall, black-clad man at the head of the group spoke in a deep, booming voice. Kushina, who hadn't even graduated yet and wasn't even a genin, was quickly captured by these men in black. 2 minutes later, Gen Uchiha leaped over the mottled stone wall of the Senju mansion and entered the house, picking up a lock of red hair from the ground. Oh no, it seems we're still a little late. With his sharing activated, his powerful perception allowed him to see every detail in the room with unparalleled clarity. The traces don't look like they were left recently, and the person who did it retreated in a hurry, seemingly without bothering to clean up. Moreover, their methods were crude. They didn't even find the clues left by Kushina, or perhaps they were just trying to be quick and selectively ignored them even if they found them. Following the clues, Uchiha Gen went all the way to another alley outside the Senju mansion, forming hand seals as he chased after them. During the run, a male crow with glossy feathers and a robust physique appeared beside Uchiha Gen. Go and inform the Grand Elder and Orochimaru Sensei that the people of Kumagakyo are secretly kidnapping villagers. Request their assistance. Uchiha Gen addressed the leader of the ninja crows, watching him flap his wings and fly into the sky. Then, with a quick movement of his feet, he activated body flicker and rushed off into the distance. At the same time, on his way home, a handsome blonde boy found several strands of red hair lying on the ground, and a figure only slightly larger than himself moving in the direction indicated by the red hair. That's the previous generation's Uchiha Gen Senpai, and this red hair on the ground. Only Kushina in the village has hair like that. Minato Namikaze's gaze showed a hint of worry, but then became firm, and he quickly followed in the direction of Gen Uchiha. Uchiha Gen naturally noticed the figure of Namikaze Minato hanging behind him. Tusk, as expected of the future Yellow Flash, his speed is already barely keeping up with mine. Even if this guy doesn't learn the Flying Thunder God technique in the future, his speed is definitely top-notch. Two blurry figures moved swiftly. The people from Union were indeed very efficient with their time, and their movement speed was quite fast. Uchiha Gen and Namikaze Minato gave chase, even beyond the boundaries of Konoha village, but still couldn't catch up. As night quietly fell, a new moon climbed over the mountain. Uchiha Gen suddenly stopped and used the tactical hand gestures taught at the Ninja Academy to signal to Namikaze Minato, who was following behind him. Stop. Infiltrating. Keep up. I'll go left, you go right. I'll feign an attack, you rescue them. Minato Namikaze, who was hanging behind, nodded slightly, then slipped into the bushes beside him with light and agile movements, without making a sound. We've escaped Konoha's territory, so we can breathe a sigh of relief for now. Don't relax too much. It's all right, we've already come this far. Let's keep going and reach the border tomorrow. The third Hokage has already arranged for a team to meet us. We'll have done a great service, and we don't even know what kind of reward we'll get. Hey, those higher-ups in Konoha are really idiots. The plan actually succeeded. They captured that woman from the Uzumaki clan. Now we don't even need to pick a future Jinchuriki for the village. Once the credit is paid, I'll get the chance to train in even more powerful ninjutsu. Becoming a Jonin will be just around the corner. The three cloud recluses walked along, chatting in hushed tones, their expressions occasionally glancing warily at their surroundings, looking quite excited. All right, break time is over. Let's continue. Stay alert. The tall, burly Cloud Village ninja at the head glanced at the sky, stood up from the ground, and said, In order to attract Konoha's attention, all the powerful and important figures in the Kumagakure delegation stayed behind and released information related to the Six Paths ninja tools and the Second Hokage Corps, thus drawing away important Konoha members such as Maito, Uzumaki, and Tsunade. That is why those who stayed behind to take action were not actually the most outstanding in this delegation. That's why the Cloud Village ninja leading the team was somewhat worried. Fortunately, everything is going smoothly for now. Worship, worship. Two blurry figures flashed by, instantly ambushing and eliminating the last two members of the Cloud Hidden Squad. Who goes there? The leader of the Cloud Village ninja was startled. He carried Kushina on one arm and leaped to the top of a tree. Just then, a figure wielding a ninja sword flashed past like a gust of wind, accompanied by glowing scarlet eyes. Sharingan. The Cloud Village ninja couldn't help but cry out in surprise. He instinctively drew his sword to block Uchiha Gen's attack while trying to avoid Uchiha Gen's gaze. The Sharingan's reputation has resounded throughout the ninja world for 1,000 years. Everyone knows that when facing an Uchiha who has awakened the Sharingan, never make eye contact with them. However, he was clearly being overly cautious. Uchiha Gen's current single Tomo Sharingan doesn't greatly enhance his genjutsu, and his own genjutsu skills aren't particularly high either. To be on the safe side and avoid alerting his opponent, he didn't use it. The powerful force caused the blades of the two ninja swords to clash together, creating sparks. Kushina stared blankly at the Uchiha boy, who had appeared opposite her with a sword. Before she could react, she felt a lightness in her body and was rescued by Minato Namikaze. "We've come to save you, Kushina." Minato Namikaze spoke to Kushina with a faint, gentle smile on his face. Under the moonlight, a head of glossy golden hair moved in the night breeze. Not far away, Uchiha Gen, wielding a ninja sword, was fighting with a Cloud Village ninja. The two figures swiftly moved through the forest, the sounds of clashing swords ringing out incessantly. Chapter 36, The Uchiha Encirclement. Damn it, this Uchiha brat is way too strong. The Cloud Village ninja quickly discovered that this young Uchiha, who had only graduated from the Ninja Academy less than 2 years ago, was actually stronger than them. None of the truly renowned and powerful ninjas in their delegation were present. Although he himself was a fairly strong Chunin, he could only passively defend himself against Uchiha Gen, who was equipped with a young Madara character card. With Kushina, his target, already rescued by Minato Namikaze, and his two other teammates killed in a sneak attack, he had absolutely no chance of winning. Escape. The Cloud Village ninja made a quick decision to abandon Gen Uchiha and retreat. Under the gaze of the Sharingan, do you think you still have a chance to escape? At this moment, instead of giving chase, Uchiha Gen smiled and mocked the retreating Cloud Village ninja. Because the reinforcements he was waiting for had already arrived. In the pitch-black forest, pairs of blood-red Sharingan appeared, spreading out and surrounding the area like a pack of wolves hunting in the night. The ninjas of Kumagakure have some nerve. Using the guise of peace, talks to kidnap people from Konoha. Aren't they showing a lot of disrespect to the Uchiha clan? A Uchiha man in his 40s was the first to emerge from the darkness. His Sharingan with 3 Tomo spun around, and he exuded an extremely oppressive aura. Uchiha Gen recognized this person because he was Uchiha Yu, the second elder of the clan, whose status was second only to the clan leader and the first elder. An elite Jonin named Uchiha, who is in his prime, is one of the strongest Jonin in the entire Hidden Leaf village. Behind Uchiha Yu, one after another, Uchiha ninjas with different numbers of Tomo Sharingan emerged from the forest, their fierce and powerful auras rushing towards the Cloud Village ninja. The latter's hand holding the ninja sword, trembled uncontrollably. After swallowing hard, he finally managed to raise the ninja sword with difficulty. Captured alive. Uchiha Yu uttered 2 words indifferently, and in an instant, countless sharing and genjutsu hypnotized him. It can be said that this guy has made history, becoming the first ninja since the establishment of the 5 great ninja villages to enjoy so many sharing and hypnotic treatments. The scene was so intense that even the tender atmosphere between Minato and Kushina was completely overwhelmed by the ferocious aura brought by so many sharing and eyes. Yuan, are you all right? A tall, thin Uchiha turned off his sharing and walked to Uchiha Gen's side and patted the latter on the shoulder. Uncle Zinjai, rest assured, with his power he cannot harm me who possesses these eyes. Gen Uchiha knew very well the nature of his clansmen and what they liked to hear, so he immediately said something very characteristic of the Uchiha clan. This will reduce the sense of distance between him and his clansmen and bring them closer together. Upon hearing Uchiha Gen's answer, Shinji nodded in strong agreement, clearly also agreeing with the response. While I agreed, I couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. He could see the entire exchange between Uchiha Gen and that Cloud Village ninja from a great distance using his 3-tomo Sharingan. Back when they were at the Ninja Academy, his son Inaheim was once on par with Uchiha Gen, but now the latter has clearly left Inaheim far behind. A genius like this, given enough resources and a renowned teacher, will surely thrive like a fish in the ocean. That's the current situation. Although his son was outshone, Uchiha Nobuyuki was only a little disappointed and didn't have any other negative emotions. After all, Gen and Inahikasa were classmates. With this friendship, as long as they maintain their relationship, given Gen's talent, they might need his help in the future. That's right, Gen. If it weren't for you, the police department would definitely have been affected if the enemy had been allowed to do such a thing within Konoha. This time, it's thanks to your vigilance that the clan's honor wasn't tarnished. A young yet very composed voice rang out from the side. A young man of about 20 years old, an Uchiha, was walking towards them with his chest held high. My cousin, Fugaku. Uchiha Gen nodded slightly to the newcomer. Although he has only just turned 20 this year, Fugaku Uchiha looks quite mature, especially with the deep nasolabial folds on both sides of his nose, which makes him look even more mature. Recently, the Grand Elder has mentioned you to my father and me quite a bit. Now it seems that his judgment is as accurate as ever. Brother Fugaku, you flatter me. The Elder also mentioned you to me, saying that you will be the key figure who will determine the rise and fall of the family in the future. Uchiha Gen also flattered Fugaku. That's absolutely true. The first Elder's judgment was indeed very accurate. This guy really decided the rise and fall of the Uchiha clan. Who could have imagined that the Uchiha clan, which now seems to be thriving and is the most prestigious clan in the ninja world, will be led astray by him and his foolish eldest son just 20 years later in the original timeline, and be wiped out, leaving only Sasuke as the sole survivor. However, Fugaku was clearly unaware of Uchiha Gen's inner thoughts and seemed quite pleased, with a calm and reserved smile on his face. When you have time, you can come to the clan chief's residence. Father will certainly not mind if you interact more with the young talents in the clan. The two of us can also visit each other more often. If you need any help, please feel free to come to me. Fugaku is the son of the current clan leader, Uchiha Hisasu. It is said that the latter intends to groom him to be the next clan leader. Fugaku is not only helping him handle a lot of affairs in the police department, but has also begun to cultivate his own power and befriend the prestigious Jonin in the clan, intending to run for the position of clan elder this year. Young geniuses like Uchiha Gen were all people he could be kind enough to be brought under his wing and nurtured. However, Gen Uchiha clearly did not have this idea. Fugaku and others are leading the Uchiha clan. Can he lead them? No, he can't. He doesn't have the ability, you know. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Fugaku Uchiha and talking with the other clan members for a while, Gen Uchiha walked to the other side. Minato, Namikaze, and Kushina were piecing together the whole story, one sentence at a time. Uchiha Yu, with a somber expression, immediately understood the gist of it. The area around the Senju ancestral home has always been considered Senju territory by the Uchiha clan, so they don't get too close during patrols. In addition, there are always ANBU ninjas protecting Maito Uzumaki there, so nothing has ever happened there. Chapter 37, The Fourth Hokage. This time, with Maito Uzumaki and Tsunade leaving, the surrounding Anbu also moved away. Combined with the methods previously devised by the Cloud Village ninja in cooperation with the spies, they successfully lured away the surrounding residents. It's easy to draw the conclusion that the kidnapping by the hidden Cloud Village was premeditated and meticulously planned, and the so-called delegation negotiations were just a pretext. This matter must be reported to the Hokage as soon as possible for a decision. We will return to the village immediately and send you, the parties involved, and the criminals there. Uchiha Yu, with a serious expression, addressed the three members of the Uchiha family. The impact of this matter has been so great that it will severely and continuously worsen the relationship between the Land of Fire and the Land of Lightning, and determine the future war situation between the two sides. This is something that the police department can handle alone and must be handed over to the Hokage for a decision. No need, I've already arrived. Hiruzen Sarutobai's voice rang out at the edge of the forest. He was wearing old-fashioned grey-green armor, holding a Vajra Rui cudgel, and had an angry expression. Orochimaru, Mitokado Hamura, and Shimura Danzo followed beside Hiruzen Sarutobai, followed by dozens of ANBU and root ninjas dressed in black and wearing masks. Upon seeing Uchiha Gen, Orochimaru slowly nodded at him, the meaning in his eyes clear. Well done, you've made me proud. Uchiha Gen, Namikaze Minato, and the police department all did a great job in this matter. They rescued the kidnapped people in a timely and safe manner, preventing the village from suffering irreparable losses. They made great contributions. All the personnel involved in the rescue have completed one joint S-class operation mission. Ding! Gen Uchiha was slightly taken aback. Goodness, this is another upgrade. Is there really such a good thing? No wonder, since it was an S-rank mission, the settlement was made on the spot after the third Hokage finished speaking. Even though it's a joint operation, and some of the experience from the mission will be shared, this is still an S-rank mission. Moreover, I and Minato Namikaze contributed the most to this mission, so we will definitely get the lion's share of the experience, enough to advance to the next level, with plenty to spare. Tusk, if there are any more incidents like this in the future, I'll have to get involved more often. The third generation leader continued speaking. Now, immediately withdraw your team. The criminals will be transferred from the police department to the Dark Division for interrogation. All other members of the Cloud Hidden Mission have been detained and are under the custody of the police department. In addition, the police department, the Dark Division, and the intelligence department will conduct a joint operation to search for and arrest spies lurking in other villages. One order after another was issued. It can be said that the Cloud Village's actions this time have truly angered all the Konoha high-ranking officials, including, of course, the old lady whose status was even higher than these officials. She couldn't even imagine what would happen if Kushina were really taken away by Kumagakure. The actions of the Cloud Village show that they have no regard for the third Hokage and the Konoha leadership, as well as all the Konoha ninjas. They are essentially trying to humiliate them. Haruzen, leave the interrogation of those people to me. I guarantee I can extract every last bit of information from their brains. Danzo Shimura's voice was cold and sharp, his single eye fixed menacingly on the Cloud Village ninja who had been rendered unconscious by the genjutsu. At this time, Danzo, like the third Hokage, was still in his prime. Apart from his one eye, he still had his arm and was at the peak of his strength. He was almost the second strongest person in Konoha after the third Hokage. Then I'll leave him to you to handle, Danzo. The third generation leader said in a deep voice. Danzo's character is undeniably despicable, and his skill in intelligence gathering and interrogation is as high as his character, unquestionably professional. That Cloud Village ninja quickly broke a new record, becoming the first ninja in the history of the ninja world to be escorted by the Hokage of Konoha, 3 top-tier ninjas who were at least close to cage level, nearly 20 jonin from the police department and Anbu, and several other ninjas. This lineup is enough to take down the third Raikage. This guy deserves all the treatment he's getting. This time, you did a good job, especially in calling for backup in advance. Orochimaru lagged a few steps behind and came to Uchiha Gen's side, whispering, Orochimaru-sensei, I used sensory ninjutsu to judge that the enemy's strength was not beyond my ability to handle, and I also had reinforcements that could arrive at any time before I made my move. Uchiha Gen said to Orochimaru. Orochimaru nodded slightly. What pleased him most about this disciple was not how smart or talented he was, but that he was bold yet cautious enough. Knowing when to back down and when to be decisive is an essential quality for a ninja to survive and grow stronger. Orochimaru